So, Joe, I tell you what, you know what? I think we've got this whole podcast thing wrong.
What's that?
Where we ask people to come to us.
Yeah.
We need to go to them.
Well, I'm looking at Casey. I'm going, he looks a lot more comfortable and happy than we do.
I mean, we definitely, the weather here and all. I don't want to know. Don't want to know what it's like there. But anyway, let me formally introduce our guest for today. Today's guest is someone who truly lives at the edge of the map, thrives in the wild. Casey Harver is the Chief Operating Officer of Kodiak Big Timber Lodge, a premier wilderness destination located on the rugged, remote coast of Kodiak Island, Alaska. With a background in remote logistics, big game hunting, wilderness survival, Casey has spent years mastering life in one of the most unforgiving and awe-inspiring environments in North America. In addition to running lodge operations, Casey is the founder of Kodiak Survival School, where he trains others in essential backcountry survival and preparedness, from shelter building to emergency navigation. I almost said, shelter hiding, because could be something. He's a licensed Alaska big game transporter, assistant guide, hunter ed instructor, firearms instructor, and survival expert. So we're going to dive into some experience into your big bear hunts, talk about gear, and explore how your special operations background gives you and your clients an edge in the field. We'll touch on the realities of off-grid life, which I'm super interested in, and what it takes to successfully hunt mountain goats, Sitka blacktails, Roosevelt elk, and more in remote Alaskan wilderness. Now, Joe and I have both been to Alaska. How many times have you been?
Three.
And we both have been 3 times.
Yeah.
And we both would love to go back a 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th time. But welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. And you guys are welcome up here at any time. I'd love to show you around when you get the opportunity.
Yeah, Casey, we got skunked. We went for Sitka blacktails last time and got skunked. The weather was bad. I mean, we'll talk offline. It was a whole fiasco of trying to get to and from where we were hunting. So, but anyway, Derek, I'll just go ahead and turn it over to you.
So let's just start at the beginning. So how did you find yourself drawn to the remote wilderness living and adventure guiding? I mean, what drew you to that?
Well, the Navy is what deposited me in Kodiak. I went through SEAL training in the early mid 2000s, and our schoolhouse was here in Kodiak, and so I came up as a student with the SEAL teams and was immediately in love. It was like no place I had ever been. I was just a dumb redneck kid from southeastern Virginia, and Kodiak hit me up one side and down the other. And so I got the bug almost instantly. Later, as I progressed through my career, I got the opportunity to come back and be an instructor here and teach young guys survival skills, basic military mountaineering, that sort of thing. And so I got intimately familiar with the island, the habitat, the waters, and I always knew that I wanted. There were 2 things that I wanted to do when I was a little kid. I wanted to be first I wanted to be John Rambo. Um, and so once I had gotten through my career in the SEAL teams, the other thing that I wanted to do was be a professional hunter and fisherman. And I'm one of the very few fortunate people that have been able to do that.
So are you at the Kodiak Big Timber Lodge right now as we speak?
Yes, sir. Sure am. We're talking to you guys over Starlink, so I'm pretty thankful for that device.
Hunting Matters is presented by Copandero Indoor Archery Pistol and Rifle Range, your premier indoor archery pistol and rifle shooting destination. Located in Oak Ridge North, right next to the Woodlands, Copandero offers 2 25-yard pistol ranges, a 100-yard rifle range, and a 25-yard archery range. Whether you're honing your skills or just starting, Copandero has everything you need, including rentals, classes, a retail store, an in-house cafe, and a VIP lounge. Join Copandero today for an unmatched shooting experience. To learn more, go to copandero.com.
Tell us more about the Kodiak Big Timber Lodge. What makes it unique And what's your role? As you're the COO, is that correct?
That's correct. I have a business partner, and he purchased the lodge from a family friend of mine um, several years ago, and was in need of somebody to come in and manage it and run it. And so I told him, I said, look, I have to be able to buy into this thing. I can't just, I'm not going to work for anybody else. If I'm leaving the SEAL team, so I'm going to come and do this for real. And we came to an agreement. And so we, he basically allowed us to start into this place, and it has taken off like a rocket ship. I had great bones to work with. The previous owners had selected a wonderful location here at Big Timber. Um, a lot of places have other issues as far as like getting to them. We pick most of our people up from the airport, and then we're able to boat into the lodge almost any time, any tide. So that's a huge thing in a tidal dependent place. We have great southern exposure, and then where we're nestled is right on the southeastern corner of Raspberry Island. And Raspberry is well known for a number of things, not the least of which is our large brown bears, um, a healthy Sitka blacktail population, and we have a herd of Roosevelt elk here on the island with us as well. And so it's kind of a destination unto itself. We're right in between Afognak and Kodiak Islands. So out of the front door, we've got Kodiak, and around the mountain behind us, we've got Afognak. So you couldn't ask for a better location in Kodiak, and you can fly in. We can support that, but you don't have to, which is a game changer.
Hmm.
We know Fognak very, very well.
A little bit, yeah. Getting in and out of there, and being flown in, and having to wait hours or
Yeah.
well days in some cases. But yeah, being able to boat in is a huge advantage, and it sounds like, and from what I've seen, whether you're a fisher person or a hunter, you got either or both. It sounds like.
We do. We've got some world-class fishing, and we have an advantage over some of the folks in some of the mainland towns. We don't um, we don't have to travel to get to halibut grounds. They're 800 meters out the front door. We've got great salmon fishing in multiple rivers all around us. And you don't see the combat fishing like you do on the mainland here. It is worth the extra step to get yourself to Kodiak. It's an added expense, and it's one more flight, but it's sort of a game changer when it comes to crowds and folks and people. We just don't have the same level of competition on the rivers and in the ocean that other places do. And we don't have the travel time. Your travel time was done in the beginning, so it's done. We can be on halibut or great lingcod spots or yelloweye in minutes. Same thing with bears and blacktail and elk. They're right here. Um, Logistically, it is a challenge for us, you know, running the lodge for the family to be able to get needed supplies and things that that you don't think of being difficult. We definitely do. Um, for example, a gallon of fuel has to come into the port in Kodiak, and then we have to go into town and pump that fuel into barrels and then move it out to the lodge and then repump it into barrels and then before it goes into the boat to go fishing for the day. So there's some logistical challenges there that we face, but for the end user, which is the folks that come and stay with us, they're on it quickly.
Right, right. Well, so and from what I've seen in your resume, it's you've got a lot of Alaska specific certificates, survival certificates, things like that. So how did you go from that to managing operations at Kodiak Big Timber Lodge?
Well, it was a natural fit actually, because what I was doing was I taught for the SEAL teams while I was active duty, their SEER survival course, which um, was heavy into boats and tracking and trapping and all of those sorts of things. Well, all of those same skills that I used during my career, I started a business called Kodiak Survival School, and I wanted to share the skills that I was teaching to the SEAL teams to my students. The basic level survival skill. I wanted to open that up to the general public, and so I did, and it started to grow. Um, there's a real need for those skills in the wider world. People are kind of losing touch with the land, and they're losing touch with the ocean. So I wanted to be able to provide those. I tried um, experimenting on my family and my friends. They loved it. They said, and I asked them, I said, do you think I could do this for a living? And they were like, yes, absolutely. You should do it. So, so we started that. We started a myriad of different things to try and get it off the ground. And one of the things that I recognized immediately was that you can kind of starve to death with a survival school in some ways. So we needed to do something else. And so we had a boat, and we decided to start taking people on fishing charters. And we just smashed it. And so um, it got really popular, and I felt very lucky. And so it was just a natural progression. It just naturally fit. And by the time I linked up with my business partner, we had already had a fairly healthy following of folks that were going fishing with us. Um, so, you know, I think the background that I came from, people don't often think of the military as being super safe, but there are a lot of risk mitigation things that the military does that I was able to apply that made a whole lot of people feel better about what we were doing on the water, especially at times where, the ocean is not always friendly here. It's just not. So I took some of those skills and applied it to what we were doing, and people responded. So
Capital Farm Credit understands that there's something about the outdoors that pulls you in. Could be the fresh air, the colors, the smells, the animals, the freedom. It's all just a part of who you are. And with our recreational land loans, you can purchase land for whatever outdoor pursuit you please. That way, the outdoors won't just be in your soul, it'll also be in your name. To learn more, visit capitalfarmcredit.com. Together, we're better.
Very cool. Hey, Casey, how long have you been doing this?
I have been running Big Timber for 2 years now, and I think we started Kodiak Survival about 4 years ago.
Okay. Let's change. That's very cool. Let's change gears a little bit. Talk about one of my favorite animals, brown bears. How did your most recent season shape up, and was there anything about it that stood out this year?
Oh yeah, it was it was a wonderful season. We got kind of beat up in the draw hunt. Um, we had a lot of folks in, but we only pulled a few clients this year that drew. But we had a wonderful area to hunt, and both of our hunters were absolutely successful. Um, the uh, the first hunter, he came in with a 9 foot bear, which is a very respectable, very very respectable bear, and my hunter went away with a 9.6, very nice bear. Um, 20, I think he was green skull was 27 to 9/16, which is not the book, but still, he's no slouch. Um, but we had an interesting time of it. Um, if you'd like to hear the story, I'm happy to to share.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why we're here, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got in. Camp was great. Um, weather was nice, which is not always the case in an early season brown bear hunt, especially in Kodiak. And this was a tent-based hunt. And we do that multiple different ways. So that sometimes we'll do it as a boat-based hunt, depending on the area, which is very nice. Um, and you see a lot of bears that way. The boat-based hunts, you can kind of relax a little more because you're on the boat. You're not in the environment with the bear the entire time. You're on the water, kind of um, glassing hillsides. You can have a normal level conversation, and it's a more comfortable setting. In this case, we were in the field and directly in bear territory, and so the first day we got in, we saw quite a few bears, but nothing to brag about. Small bears, kind of at a distance. And I find that that happens a lot. When the plane lands, it's going to make a big noise. And those bears are not always used to that noise. So they're going to be a little bit more leery. It takes 24 hours or so for the area to settle down. Well, within the next day, oh gosh, it started raining, hard rain, miserable conditions, just like you would expect for an early season Kodiak hunt. And so not great. But we did have some bears coming into camp, and they were coming closer and closer. And we had spent the following day looking at a bear that we thought might be the one, all morning. So we decided that evening that we would make a boat trip by raft. So sometimes we flew in a small 10-foot raft with us with a small outboard on it, which can be a game changer for bear hunting. It keeps your scent down. You can manage so long as the sea state is calm, you can manage your scent a lot better. You can work with the wind. And if you're just idling up rivers or along shorelines, it's super quiet. So we pursued a bear that we thought might be the one. We got all the way up 30 yards away. No bear. He's a no bear. He's too small. He looked great in the binos, but what was happening was we were catching the reflection off the water, so he looked a lot bigger than what he actually was. So we're a little bit disappointed. It's getting late. We decided that we're gonna call it a day and come back to camp. Well, lo and behold, as soon as we get to camp, 450 yards away, here comes our bruiser, and he's headed right for camp. And my hunter and I saw it about the same time, and so we're trying to get in touch with the other guide, and both of us are like, trying to be as quiet as he's right there. So we get our stuff together, quietly slip around the hill, and this bear is just be pretty as a picture walking in. And we decide that it's a shooter bear. Um, Now, my hunter's shooting a 375 H&H, which those are great rounds, and they have killed many, many, many things. But they tend to fall off a little bit after 200 yards. So this bear is at 257 when the shot's fired, and it it felt like a good shot to the hunter, felt like a good shot to me, because the bear it buckled his leg, he bit, he roared and tumbled. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Well, then he starts to get up, and so he another shot's fired, and the bear is really getting up now. So I'm going to try and back my hunter up. As the bear starts up the hill, I tried to fire my rifle, and it misfired. And so a second round I chambered, and it misfired. And now we've got a third round I chambered, and I fired one more round, and it was a good round, but it went, but I don't know how much it helped. So now we've got the worst case scenario. we have a huge brown bear that is, um, we know is wounded, and it's getting dark, and we're hoping for no rain. So there's only one thing that we can do, and our wives would appreciate it if we didn't, but we have to go inspect. We have to go see and find the blood trail, and hopefully he's in there not too far. So myself and our hunter stayed back on the hill, not for any other reason, but we needed somebody to be able to see the macro view and potentially get another shot if the bear comes out again. So myself and the other guide went in to start tracking, and immediately, first blood, beautiful. Um, but as we start tracking, we're not finding the bear very quickly. It's not one of those scenarios where you walk in 30, 50, 100 yards and find him, and it's getting dark. So all we can do is go back to camp and wait. Um, it is an uncomfortable feeling, and the best way I can describe it is, from my military times. It's like being close to an IED. Um, you have an extremely powerful animal. It is thick, thick salmonberry and, um, thick brush, and your gun's up going through it because in there he's in there somewhere. And as big as they are, you don't see them super easy. They can hide really well, and they're a lot quieter than people assume that they are. You think of this big lumbering animal, but he's pretty stealthy when he wants to be. So we go back to camp, and it's a restless night, as always. But we're praying that there's no rain, and we happen to get our prayer answered, because the next morning we get up, and sure enough, there's no rain. We track the bear to 1.16 miles the next day into the Alpine. The shot had entered. He had been hit twice, and the shot had entered low in his shoulder. It went through his shoulder, under his chest, but it wasn't. It was. It may have been mortal, but it was taking a while for it to happen. And so he was bleeding out of his left side, bleeding out of his right side. So we continued the track, and at certain points, a bear has a lot of fat. So even if he's injured really badly, he can close those wounds over time. Once he starts to coagulate and his fat starts to close in, they can stop bleeding, even on a mortal wound. So lucky for us, we were able to get one little bit at a time as we were going up, and then finally we're down to where we're tracking by tracks, not necessarily blood trailing anymore. We're tracking and trailing, and then we get on them. We found it finally through some very thick brush. We were all three of us were spread out in the location trying to get on this bear, and he was wounded badly. It was a decent shot, but it wasn't instantly fatal, which is what you want. So once we started to find out where he had actually gone and laid down, he was still very much alive. And so, all hell broke loose once we got to him, because it was quite close. Less under 20, and more like, 12 yards. Yeah. So but we got him, and he was a beautiful, beautiful animal, and very successful hunt. Uh, we don't like it when it goes that long, but that's hunting. Sometimes it's not going to be perfect, and I'm just thankful that, um, the hunter was a outstanding hunter, and very experienced guy. The other guy that I was hunting with, extremely experienced, and just a superb tracker. So we had a great crew to be able to get that done with.
And I'm getting my heart's pounding just thinking about it.
No, yeah, it's amazing, and that's, a story like that, rather than, just, well, not just, but an instant kill shot. I mean, the hunter can remember that for the rest of their lives, be telling that story, I mean, that's,
I totally agree. And, those are the ones that stick with you. I think that we had a great crew, and, you're hunting as a team, you know, and so it's important that your team members are good people, and I like that aspect. Like that, our hunter couldn't do it without us, and we definitely can't do it without him. So it's a team effort, and each one of us kind of, in order to close that deal, had to play to our strengths. Um, I certainly wish that my rifle hadn't misfired, but
Hunting Matters is sponsored by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Under the visionary leadership of founder Johnny Morris, Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's is leading North America's largest conservation movement. Together with their partners in conservation, they're positively shaping the future of the outdoors through donations, grant making, and advocacy. The 501c3 Outdoor Fund raises funds to support conservation efforts by activating more than 200 million passionate sportsmen and women, rounding up their purchases in Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's stores and online. Visit BassPro.com or Cabela's.com today.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Hey, I'm curious, how many hours did you guys have to track the second day before you finished the hunt?
it was 6 hours plus, and then it took us several hours to skin, because when that happens, he's not going to go down in the best possible spot ever. He goes down in maybe like the worst possible position. Um, and there's alder and salmonberry, and you have this bear, and I hate to guess at what he weighs, but he's contorted, and he's got one arm stuck under him, and it takes three of us to roll him and try and get him spread out in a way that we can skin him appropriately, because he's going home, he's going full body mount. This is a worthy bear, but it took some time, and then the pack out took some time. So it was an all day evolution. I think we got back just before dark, and we have about 12 hours of daylight at the moment. So
Right.
Hmm.
I just picture that whole scenario. You guys finally get done. You're exhausted. You're relieved. The adrenaline's starting to come down. You get back to camp. You just sit around, look at each other, and go, "That just happened."
Yeah.
And I'm guessing I can tell by the look on your face and the smile on your face that it never gets old.
No, not at all. Not at all. There's so much to this that I love, absolutely love. A lot of my previous career was ruining people's day. Um, and whether we were practicing to ruin someone's day or actually ruining their day, that's what it was about. We did hard things to bad people. And in this career field, my job is to make people's day. I want you to go away with a wonderful story and a just a magical time. I want to share the place that I love with you. So I I love what I do. There's no better. I can't think of another thing that I would rather be doing than sharing this wonderful place with people. It's amazing.
I don't know about you, man, but I'm kind of getting convinced that this is the guy we need to go
I
with
know.
our next trip to Alaska.
Yeah, we need to get on the list there. Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? Then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put that next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to dearanch.com. That's dearanch.com. So
I don't want to monopolize your time. I know Derek's got a bunch of questions too, but just one last thing before I turn it over to Darren. For people who've never hunted brown bear, Kodiak brown bear, what are the top couple of things? I mean, you're at a show, you're having a conversation with somebody that's a hunter, but they've never done this type of hunting before. What are the couple of things that you could share with us that are kind of unique to this type of hunt and this type of animal that really stands out in your mind?
You know, uh, a lot of hunters do a lot of whitetail hunting, um, and there's some there's some training scars, is kind of what I call it. As far as what people are used to with whitetail, brown bear is not that thing. Um, so it's a shift in mentality away from with a whitetail, any blink, any head turn is going to cause the deer to bust you. A brown bear, it's all about scent. And so if he can't smell you, he doesn't see very well. The whitetail is scent too, but he's got really good vision. Um, Brown bear is used to being kind of in his own territory, in his own space. If he doesn't smell you, then you have a better shot. Um, the other thing I think is that most normal bear interactions with people are benign. They don't want anything to do with you. Um, if you're in direct competition for a food source, then yeah, you may run a higher risk of a negative encounter. But most of the time, if a bear knows it's a man, he's gone. So it's two things that I think that you can sort of relax a little bit when you're bear hunting. He's not lurking around every bush to try and bite you, um, and he's not going to bust you immediately unless he smells you. So
Yeah, good to know. Thanks for sharing that information, Derek.
interesting. Yeah. We could go on and on about bear hunting.
Love bear. Love talking about bears. I'm getting
But
chill bumps just thinking about it.
let's talk about fishing a little bit. So you're gearing up for fishing season. Is that right?
we absolutely are. We are putting in lots of work, time now to get ready for fishing season. Um, we have a great resource up here, and it'll just ruin you for fishing other places. Um, I won't say that we never get skunked, but it is very, very, very rare that happens. But yes, we've got a pretty full calendar. Um, so really, the best times to fish is, specifically in Kodiak, is from July 1st to September 15th. That's your premium spot on season. And so, and the reason for that, I think, is because lingcod season opens July 1st, and that's really when the salmon runs are starting to kick off. And then it just gets better and better all the way. I mean, it's great fishing really all the way to the middle of October. Um, and you can continue to fish into November, December timeframe, but you won't have as many salmon around. So July 1st to September 15th, it is full on.
So you mentioned salmon. What other species of fish are you targeting, or you are most prevalent where you are?
Well, we've got all five species of salmon here. So king salmon is probably one of the number one attractants for us. But we also have lingcod, which, if you're not familiar with the lingcod, it looks almost like a dragon. I call them sea dragons. Super long fish, very aggressive, loves rock piles and pinnacles, and it's probably one of the most delicious fish, despite its looks, around. We have yellow eye, huge yellow fish that take to reach full maturity. Some of those fish will be 120 years old. Um,
Kidding. Wow.
yeah, yep. Um, but we've got lots of different species of rockfish, including yellow eye. We've got tigers, quillbacks, coppers, blacks, duskies. I mean, just tons of them. And then, of course, halibut. Everybody loves halibut. Um, and so we have a great halibut fishery here as well.
So you mentioned earlier a little bit about logistics. Just getting gas, to the island or where you are. What's it like on a daily basis, or is it a weekly thing that you do to get yourself prepared or get all your supplies that you need to the lodge?
That's a great question, and it's one that I actually really appreciate. We, unlike some people and some lodges, we exist here 24/7. We're here year round, except for if we come down to like the Houston Safari Show or something like that. Other than that, we're here. Um, so we start our preparations months and months in advance. Um, we'll start really in earnest um, when the daylight starts to lengthen. We start projects, whether it's cabins repaired over winter or making something nicer or um, thinking about what we need to order in bulk from Costco, getting those things shipped in, um, repairs to boats, any of that sort of stuff. Those are things that we are doing 24/7 in order to get ready for that July 1st. Let's go. Um, things break during the season, but we try not to have that impact anyone in any way. We try and get all of that prep work done in advance. So, for example, if we want to have a steak night, we need to go and select those steaks from Costco in April to have them ready to be on the plates July 1.
Mm, wow.
And that's going to require, there's two ways to get on and off of Kodiak. You can take a 90-minute flight to Anchorage, or you can take a ship and go by ferry, which is 10 hours overnight, and then another 4-hour drive into Costco. So it takes a little bit of preparation to make sure that everything's ready when you get here.
You got to really want a Costco hot dog to make that trip. Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip, but when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. Global Rescue provides unparalleled capabilities to transport members to the hospital of their choice, not just the closest. So trade what ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/hunting matters.
Yeah.
I want to ask you. So I've been on actually I've been on one hunt where the first thing we did was we sat down and we talked about safety and how to
Mhm.
prepare. And so how does your team prepare for emergencies, and how do you prepare your hunters and fisher people for emergencies, things like that?
That's a great question. We so first of all, I've written a playbook for us that is internal to us. And I make that very well known to the folks when they get on board the boat or when our first stop really usually is the boat. And so we'll do a little safety brief about how to get help, where we are before we ever leave the pretty much the airport. By the time we get over the pass to the boat, that's our first stop. So as soon as you arrive, we want you to understand where you're at and what those safety protocols are before you ever come out to the lodge. Once you get here, then we kind of just continue to build on that as the week progresses. If you're coming in for a hunt, we'll take you to the range out back, let you get all your stuff done, whether it's archery or um, firearms. You can use either, but we've got the range set up, and then after that, each day we sort of go through the plan. Like there's a map behind me And I will talk you through what we're going to do and our movements on the map pretty much every day. And I'll talk to you about what the weather's going to be, where we're located as it relates to town, um, and who's listening for us. Whether it's the lodge or we won't have any cell signal, that kind of thing. Does that
Hmm.
answer your question? Hopefully.
No, most definitely. I mean, it's impressive because there are so many things that can go wrong. And given your background and some of the other things that you do, I would think it would be very advantageous to go hunting with someone like you rather than some of the outfits I've gone out with. Which as long as your gun's sighted in, we're ready to go. There's a whole lot more to it.
Yeah, we're gonna get in the boat. We'll drop you off. We'll see you at sundown.
Right.
Yeah, that's just not the way we operate for us. There are too many second and third order effects to that. And so what we want to do is we want you to have a good time, and we want to buy down some of the risk that's associated with it. So say, for example, you're an avid deer hunter and you want to come to Kodiak and you want to do it yourself and do a transported hunt. We're fully capable of safety backstopping you for that hunt. Um, Basically, with a transported hunt, you're guiding yourself. So we will draw out on the map. We'll say, okay, these are the are beaches that I can land on in the area that you want to hunt. This is what the weather report's going to be. And when we bring you in, we're not giving you information about hunting. We're giving you information about safety. And that's what we are there to do. And so we're listening for you, um, the entire time that you're in the field. You're on your own program, but you're not in the wind by yourself. We are there to help you.
Mm.
That's interesting that you offer that as well. I mean, two of my hunts were self guided in Alaska, but the first one, well, actually no, both of them. My cousin went with me, and he's guided before and hunted and whatnot. But I learned so much just being with him, knowing that self guided for a typical hunter in Alaska is definitely not something to be taken lightly. So, yeah,
It's not. I think people often underestimate the bush here, and I've had more. I've done it myself, as a matter of fact. When I first got here, what I did was, I was an avid hunter, avid deer hunter. I looked at the side of the mountain. I had two little boys with me, my children, and I was like, "Boys, we're going hunting." And I picked probably the worst possible route anyone has ever picked ever to try and get to where the deer were. Um, I was told the deer were early season, were on top of the mountain. So to the top of the mountain I was headed. But it turned out to be probably one of the top five worst hunts I've ever done. And completely unsuccessful. We ended up in thick, thick brush, couldn't get to the top of the mountain. The boys were cold, miserable, not having fun, not what you want for a kid. And it was kind of at that point, I just kind of had to reel it back. I was like, okay, let's stop. We'll have a campfire. We'll, you know, Dad screwed up. We're going to go back. And from that point forward, I was like, man, I got to figure this out. There has to be a better way of doing this. Um, Tapping into people that have done it before or local knowledge. That's what I should have done, but I was too brazen. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. I'm big bad dude. I'll just do it. Nah, it doesn't work like that here. You need to go about it in a strategic way, and so that you're not putting yourself or others at risk.
Sounds like our last blacktail hunt.
I was gonna say, yeah,
The
just go
opposite of what he's talking about as
pretty
far as
much, yeah, just
planning and organization.
head that way, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shifting gears a little bit, Kodiak Survival School. I know that there's a litany of things that you guys teach that you've learned that you're sharing with other people. What are top level view? What are some of the basic modules and things that you're focused on, and who are the people that attend these schools?
We get a little bit of everyone, to be honest. We have done stuff at the lowest level from like fifth grade classes to backcountry professionals who are and even other special operations guys that we've done some training with. So, at the full, you can reach to either end of the thing, depending on the experience level. Um, some of the basics are, you know, uh, signaling, firecraft, water, shelter, um, you know, uh, survival medicine, um, more how to treat things when you don't have your normal medical supplies. Um, what you can do to get yourself out. Um, so all of those things are stuff that we cover. Um, I think on the broad strokes, if I was going to talk about one of the things that we cover in great detail, it would be probably signaling. And for your country hunters, that's an important lesson, and it's one that's often overlooked. I use a 5W format: the who, what, when, where, and why. Right. So if you're going into the backcountry and you're going to be hunting, fishing, hiking, adventuring, it doesn't matter what your purpose is, you need to leave those 5Ws with someone who is not in the field with you, who you know you can trust. If you do that, your chances go up exponentially for in case of emergency. Like if you have a survival related scenario, the boat broke down, whatever the case was. You have somebody that is safety backstopping you. They know when you were expected to arrive. They know about what you had on the boat with you or in the field with you. And they know an approximate location of where you were headed. This is the critical information that your rescuers are going to need when they come for you. Um, so those are those are some of the topics. And then as we get into the survival school, we talk about different ways to attract attention and what to do. You know, I know there was a flub earlier, the shelter hides. Well, there's a time to hide your shelter and a time to make your shelter as visible as possible. And we kind of go through a bit of both of those in the process of learning with the school.
Are you looking for an investment that goes beyond the ordinary? Wildlife Partners is the nation's leader in breeding and consulting for the exotic wildlife industry. When you invest in wildlife, you're not just acquiring a 100% tax deductible asset, you're playing a vital role in the conservation of endangered species. Do you own land? You can turn your ranch into a profitable wildlife driven business. And even if you don't own land, that's no problem. Wildlife Partners offers unique opportunities for non landowners to invest in conservation while enjoying significant tax benefits and potential cash flow.
Very cool. I think we could do that as well. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something that, yeah, it's like learning about, your rifle. You think you know, but until you get someone who's an expert or who really knows rifles, you really don't know that weapon. And I think survival is the same way. I think I know a lot, but I guarantee you, if I went through your program, I would learn a heck of a lot more. Have you published anything?
No, and some of that is in the works at the moment, but we haven't gotten it out in print just yet. But I think if you give us a little while, you'll probably see some of that stuff rise to the surface. Um, Estimating your skills is kind of what you were alluding to. Um, if you're not practicing, there's so many things that are this way. If How do you know that your rifle is going to fire if you haven't taken it to the range and fired? You don't. You want to make sure that your rifle's zeroed. You want to make sure that that's ready to go when the time comes that you need to use it. If you haven't built a fire, how do you know that you're going to be able to? If you haven't practiced that skill, how do you know when the time counts and I really need it that you're going to be able to get the job done? Or maybe someone else really needs it and they're relying on you. So it's important, just as a survivalist, one of the things that we are is a forcing function to practice. It's just the way it is. We want you to get out and try those skills and do it, because once you've performed it, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Garrick and I, like you are, I'm sure, and most hunters, we're gear junkies.
Hmm.
And we have a shared relationship. You've worked with Forlow, Technical
Hmm.
Apparel, and their gear, and Andy Techmansky and his team over there are great people. They're a corporate partner of ours as well. They support our mission and our outreach programs. Do you have a favorite piece, a favorite line of Forlow gear or clothing that you would recommend for Alaska conditions?
You know, um, I can't rave about Forlow any higher than. I mean, they are simply one of the best U.S. made line of hunting gear out there. Pretty much everything that they make is great. I really like the BTM pants. Um, those are awesome. Anything in the Alclima line
Mm-hmm.
is amazing. This is Andy, when I see him, which is pretty often, he calls this my uniform because I wear it every day.
Yeah.
Um, but everything from soft shells, the rain jackets and puff gear. The new puff that they came out with, I love. The rain gear. This top and the puff is stuff that I use all the time, all the time. Um, I can't say enough good things about it, and they have been very supportive of us here at the lodge. I love some of the missions that they are doing, Hunters for the Hungry type missions, things along those lines, and the fact that they're trying to get it done here at home in America,
Yeah.
and all of those things are things that I can get behind. I really enjoy our relationship with them.
Yeah, we have too, and I can't rave about their gear enough as well. And it's been and like you said, they support conservation, they support mission based programs and outreach programs, and that's one of the main reasons why they joined forces with us as well. And they've been great to work with. So shameless plug to Andy and the guys over at Forlow. But I knew you wore their stuff, used it, and if there was a case for anybody who's doing durability testing on clothing, it's you and your team. So Derek, I'll turn it back over to you.
No doubt, no doubt. So, if I came to you and I said I want to hunt a Sitka blacktail and a mountain goat and Roosevelt elk, I want those three. What are the differences in terrain, preparation, time of year?
Well, you're going to do those together.
No, 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 not
Because first
together.
he's going to want your credit card.
Yeah, well, I might slip him
Yeah,
yours first, but
Yeah.
I think one of the main things one of my first questions would be, what kind of shape are you in? Um, are you in mountain shape?
I was about. Let's see, I was before the shoulder, and right this second, no, but I would be. I would be. I would be in mountain shape.
And I think that that's probably the number one game changer for folks is, you know, there's a lot of there's two types of fun, right? Um, there's type one fun, which is like your roller coaster fun. I'm at a theme park and we're having a good time, backyard barbecues, that sort of thing. Type two fun is the kind of fun that you have to earn. It's only fun later. And a lot of that type of hunting is type two fun. Um, and so when you come out of it, you know, you're going to be reflecting on the events of that thing, and it's going to be a lot better time if you were in shape in the first place.
For sure.
Um, I think that those would be some of the first questions. And then, yeah, all of those things are possible. And Probably not at the same time as Joe
Yeah.
alluded to, but you would need a dedicated month and some serious luck in the draw. But
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, we had like we mentioned before, we had gone after Sitka blacktail, and um, I think might have been more of our time of year. Maybe we.
They were saying we were having November weather in September. Everything was blowing sideways and couldn't get the float plane out and all that sort of thing. So they said, yeah, this is not unexpected or not unusual, but yeah, you guys are in it right now. So sit tight. We'll let you know when we can get you out of here.
I mean, what's the best time of year? What's the best time of year to hunt Sitka blacktail?
I think with Sitka blacktail hunting, for me personally, um, there's two different ways to go about it. I enjoy the early season hunts that are more difficult. I really like seeing the bucks in velvet. They're beautiful. And I like being at the top of the mountain, which is where they're going to exist early season. So I like to get up and in the early season when the mountains here are really, really, really intensely green and the bucks are burnt orange, they sort of pop out everywhere. I mean, it's pretty easy to spot them. And so you can kind of sit up high and really work it and see, oh, okay, there's one. I think I can get on him and make your stalk. So there's that version of it. And then the late season, when the weather gets exceptionally foul up at the top of the mountain, the deer are not going to hang out for that. So they come down. Then you find them in lower lying areas, closer to the beaches, a little less walking, but usually herded up in larger quantities. And they're commingled, where early season, you're more likely to find bachelor groups because the bucks haven't gone into rut yet. Late season, you're going to find commingled blacktail at lower elevations. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it is a guideline.
Gotcha. We talked about bears. We talked about different animals, fishing. What do you personally feel is your most rewarding hunt or experience, whether it's hunting, fishing, and what animal?
Oh gosh. I think personally, my most rewarding experience is mountain goat hunting. Um, like I have a nice brown bear, and we've killed quite a few brown bears. But I think that our probably our my most rewarding was mountain goat hunting, and it's not necessarily because of the goat; it's because of the mountain. You have to beat the goat on the mountain in his terrain on his terms, and that's not easy. You know, that takes some work to get done. Um, so I think, and as a matter of fact, I have killed quite a few mountain goats, but um, I have a nanny goat mounted on my wall, and I'm not sure if you have time for that story, but there's a reason for it.
Right.
Yeah. I wish we did because I can already tell it's going to be a barn burner.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, I had a friend of mine who's a retired UFC champion, and
Mhm.
he loved to hunt. And I said, we were talking about difficulties hunt. He said mountain goat hunt that he went on was the most physically challenging, most rewarding hunt that he'd ever been on, and he's done it all over the world. But he just absolutely fell in love with it.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. I think there's a reason why it's addicting, and I think that anytime you're able to go up and beat the mountain and then bring down a nice goat, you have done something of note.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation.
Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehunt.wegive.org or call 713-623-8844.
Yeah. And I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah. It's on the list. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. As we wrap up, Casey, besides, obviously the logistics challenges you guys have in everyday life, which things like going to Costco, we take for granted. It's like, well, do we have 30 minutes to drive across town to go to Costco? These guys are talking about loading up in boats and planes and ordering steaks 2 months ahead of time. What else do you want to tell, our audience that they may not know about living a daily life in Alaska?
That's a great question. I think it's probably, Alaska just requires just a little gur all the time. I think that's probably the best way to phrase it. You just kind of got to put your shoulders up and give it a little gur.
Yeah.
That's daily life here. On the outside, even with people around town, the buildings, things along those lines, everybody's a little weather worn and they've got a little gur to them. But when you get under the surface of the place, if you're tough enough to hang out, if you're tough enough to endure and get here, you find that it is warm, inviting, and quite pleasant. But you're going to earn everything that you get here.
Yeah.
It doesn't give anything for free. You can't cheat the mountain.
Right. We brag about being Texans and that we're wired differently, but I got to tell you, the people that I've met that live a daily life, like I said, in Alaska, they too are wired different and just thicker skin and just kind of old school, like you said. The things you take for granted, the things that you fall out of practice on, and the need for durability and endurance in the wild and in nature, and just being able to take care of yourself. I mean, you guys live that credo every day, and it's really cool to see. And when we did our last trip to Alaska, the people that we met and we met people from all walks of life, just like you will anywhere you are. But it's just really cool. There's a, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a different vibration to people from Alaska. Is that an accurate assessment?
I think it is an accurate assessment. I would go as far as saying that even our hippies carry guns.
Right. Yeah. Right. When I was taking, I won't get into the whole story, but when I had to go to the hospital, my second trip wasn't a big deal. But when I walked in and I had a pistol strapped right here, and I thought, oh my God, I just walked in the hospital with a pistol. And they just looked at me like, well, yeah, so big deal, and I gave it to my cousin, and he walked out of the hospital with it. No big deal, So
yeah,
not gonna do that here.
Well, folks, this week, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a mistake. I have walked into public places where I shouldn't have been carrying and forgot. It's like a third arm. I don't know. Call me crazy. Casey Harver, the CEO of Kodiak Big Timber Lodge and the founder of Kodiak Survival School. Casey, where can people learn more about both of your programs?
They absolutely can visit us on our website at bigtimberkodiak.com, on kodiaksurvivalschool.com. We also have Facebook and Instagram, so you guys can keep up with us, and I'll try and be good about posting the fish that we catch on our Big Timber handle.
Awesome. Casey Harver, Kodiak Big Timber Lodge and Kodiak Survival School. Casey, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I want to hear the mountain goat story, the nanny. So we're going to have to get some time to get you back because I want to hear that story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Look forward to meeting you in person sometime. That'll be great because that'll hopefully mean we're in Alaska.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for joining us this week on Hunting Matters. We'll see you next week. Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehunt.wegive.org.